Welcome to The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Olivia Quay.
I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode.
Well, it's confirmed by the Istana Negara. UMNO Vice President Ismail Sabri Yaakob is Malaysia's new Prime Minister.
Now, for more, Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teo joins us live from Kuala Lumpur. Shannon, what happens now? We know that Mr. Ismail has been confirmed as PM at this afternoon's meeting, but he'll still need to table a confidence vote in Parliament. When would that possibly be?
Well, we don't know. I mean, the King has said as soon as possible. So likely it could happen next week. But next week's already the end of the month, and Parliament is scheduled to reconvene on September the 6th. So it could just be then, right? What happens next? Typically, the new Prime Minister would have to select his new cabinet. And in this case, it might happen before or after the confidence vote. If it happens after the confidence vote, then we continue with a one-man government for quite some time. But this is not necessarily unprecedented. When Tun Mahathir Mohamad was sworn in as Prime Minister again in 2018, he took his time to set up his cabinet, which is not necessarily an issue for the normal running of government. But Malaysians will be hoping to see who the new ministers are and what kind of policies that they roll out as soon as possible.
Right. So on the new cabinet, we've heard the term unity government being used in the past week. What would that administration look like, Shannon?
Well, it's been bandied about things like unity government, war cabinet, because the situation is such that we're treating COVID-19 as a huge disaster going across the country. Hundreds are dying every day. So there's this push towards whoever becoming the Prime Minister, appoint the best people in the country, not just the politicians from the ruling coalition, but also from the opposition, as well as experts from the field. In any other situation, in an actual war, maybe you might want to appoint people who know about military issues. In this situation, you might want healthcare sciences, medical experts, things like that. So that's been the push. Now, whether that will happen, well, what the Constitution says is that the Prime Minister has absolute discretion, right, in appointing his own cabinet, and the King must follow his advice in swearing them in. So whether the ruler would want to still kind of prevail and offer his suggestions, he can. But in the end, he just has to accept what the Prime Minister has on the table.
Shannon, thousands of Malaysians have signed a petition addressed to the King rejecting Mr. Ismail as the possible PM. Now that he is Premier, or he's announced as Premier, how can he rally support from the people, considering that the end goal is for his party, UMNO, to remain in power and win the next election?
Well, I suppose the government has to perform. It has to, ensure that the COVID-19 pandemic ends or is under control as soon as possible, and that will allow the economy to recover. We know that the previous government, the Muhyiddin government, had projected a growth this year, a big rebound of up to 7.5%, but we're not going to get there. I mean, based on the first half of the year, even the central bank is saying 4% at max. So there's a big task ahead for Dato' Sri Ismail and whoever he appoints into his team. They might have up to 2023 to resolve the COVID situation, the economy, and other issues that are in front of them. But just on the point of the petition, I mean, 300,000 is a massive number of people. But Malaysia's politics is at a point where it is so partisan that no matter who had been appointed, there would have been hundreds of thousands of people who have said, this is the wrong choice, right? Even at the last election, when Pakatan Harapan won, they didn't win with an outright majority of the votes. I mean, it was split into three. Pakatan Harapan got about 40% of the popular vote. So in any situation, this is what Malaysian democracy is. It's come to a kind of a compromise. Most people are not going to get their favorite choice of Prime Minister, but Ismail Sabri has the majority support in Parliament. Legally, he's the Prime Minister. And, if you want to change that, then you'll need another political crisis, or you wait till the next election.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for the updates. That was the Straits Times' Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teo, and you can, of course, read more on this big story over at straitstimes.com. An update on the COVID-19 situation here. 36 new locally transmitted cases were confirmed today.
22 are linked to previous cases and 14 are currently unlinked. 4 imported cases were also reported today. More details will be released tonight.
About a week since the differentiated rules kicked in for dine-in services, and according to the Ministry of Sustainability and the Environment, more than 5 F&B operators were found to have not checked the vaccination status of patrons before allowing entry.
Government agencies had conducted checks on over 700 eateries and 2,000 people last weekend. And a ministry press release today also said 9 patrons were also found to have dined in without a cleared status, with most not waiting 2 weeks after their second jab. No patrons were found to have falsified their vaccination status.
By next month, expect almost 90% of the eligible population here to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. That's according to Health Minister Ong Ye Kung at yesterday's Task Force press conference.
Now, as at August 18th, shown by the orange line here, 77% of the population have completed the full vaccination regimen, while 82% have received at least 1 dose.
And as at last night, 37 COVID-19 patients were reported to be seriously ill, including 8 in ICU. Of these 8, 2 are fully vaccinated and the remaining 6 are unvaccinated.
Meanwhile, in light of yesterday's announcements that Singapore is opening borders to travellers from 4 destinations, Germany, Brunei, Hong Kong and Macau, here's an update on the COVID-19 situation in these places. Well, as said yesterday,
first, the 2 places under the new vaccinated travel lane. Germany is seeing around 5,200 new cases on average each day, with nearly 58% of the population fully vaccinated.
Good to know for Singaporean residents thinking of a holiday there. More on that in a bit. Meanwhile, Brunei has only vaccinated 11.3% of its population, and it's reporting an average of 64 new infections each day.
No travel bubble between Singapore and Hong Kong right now, but travellers from Hong Kong can still enter. The city is reporting 3 new infections on average a day, while almost 40% of its population have gotten both vaccine doses.
And nearby Macau has reported 63 cases in total, and it's inoculated around 38% of its residents.
Well, these latest travel arrangements primarily concern travellers from these 4 places coming into Singapore, but Germany is the one country that fully vaccinated Singaporeans can fly to without needing to quarantine, because Germany had earlier unilaterally opened its borders to us.
A first step in resuming a leisure travel, but would you go to Germany? Well, let's discuss this with the President of the National Association of Travel Agents Singapore, Stephen Le. Welcome to the show, Stephen. Before the pandemic, Stephen, how popular of a holiday destination was Germany for Singaporeans? And how are your members reacting to Germany being the first country that Singaporeans can essentially fly to quarantine-free?
Thank you. Germany has always been a multi-country destination. It has been very popular with Singaporeans for year-end holidays. So this is probably a very good timing, because upcoming there will be Oktoberfest, followed by Christmas markets towards the end of the year. So this is definitely a good season where travelers would like to go. With this focused destination just on Germany for now, definitely I think more customers are more inclined to the new trend of more in-depth destination experience, where they want to look at where are the new areas that they can go to. They'll probably spend more time and take a more scenic pace through Germany, exploring new places. And I think this comes at the very right time, and it definitely gives our travel agent community a lot of positive impact, and we look forward to that. Firstly, with higher vaccination rates that Singaporeans are getting, this also gives us more realistic check that we know this is really going to happen. And the agents are anticipating and looking forward to sending more of our travelers to Germany.
Right. So, Stephen, you mentioned earlier that, it's probably going to be a more in-depth holiday within Germany. So do you have an idea of how travel agencies are planning their itineraries? What concessions need to be made to ensure a safe vacation while in Germany?
Well, I think firstly, we need to look at, there are probably two types of customers. First group that's really ready to travel. And I believe as of last night, there are already customers inquiring about possible travel itineraries to Germany. However, there will still be another group of customers that probably going to take a wait and see to see how things evolve and how things can come together. And hence, I think it's important between the travel agents and our operators on the ground to rebuild confidence for our travelers. And how we go by doing that is to ensure that we put effort into building a safe itinerary for our travelers. The other aspect is also ensuring the essential travel needs such as travel insurance, your COVID coverage. And the travel agents can also play a critical role in advising our travelers in situations such as if they need for medical facilities, they need to do checkup or isolations, what they should be doing. The other area is definitely working with our partners and suppliers to ensure that they are also look out for flexibility of changes, refunds, and cancellation if need be. And I think Germany also provide a very rich culture in terms of what they have to offer. So the itinerary can allow us to be a lot more creative, such as visiting castles in the different regions and also river cruises, which is well known for them.
Well, it's been very insightful chatting with you today, Stephen. We've been speaking with Stephen Le, who's president of the National Association of Travel Agents Singapore.
In non-COVID-19 news, PUB is investigating if construction works were to blame for the flood at the RIS-TAMPINES junction, whether these had tampered with drains or obstructed the drainage flow of stormwater, because the area is not low-lying or flood hotspot.
Several people were caught up in that incident. One was taken to hospital and 5 more were rescued by SCDF officers. SCDF said 25 others managed to evacuate their vehicles before officers arrived. About 13 vehicles were stranded at the junction as well.
Heavy rains this morning causing major traffic jams in other parts of Singapore, with authorities warning of flood risks. As this senior transport correspondent shares what to do if you have to drive amid heavy rain and possible floods.
If you find yourself in a situation where you have no choice but to carry on driving, I think it's best to gauge the depth of the water. If the curb is submerged, I think it's best that you either stop or you find a detour. If the curb is not submerged, then it's fairly safe to go ahead. When you drive, have a steady throttle. That means keep your foot steadily on the throttle at a steady, pressure, not on and off, not braking all the time, because this will cause the water to surge back and forth, and then you might have turbulence, and then water will get more chances of water getting into the car. So keep a steady throttle, go slow, of course, in a low gear, and if you can follow a heavier, taller, bigger vehicle, that will, keep you safe and not so that you won't veer into an unintended path. In the event that your car actually stalls, I think the best thing is to just, not try and restart the engine. The reason why it stalls, the probability is the water had gotten into the engine. And if you try to restart it, it might cause further damage. So the thing to do would be just to switch on your hazard lights, leave the vehicle and go to a higher spot in case, in the event that the water keeps rising. I think it's best to leave the car. There's no point staying in the car. And there's also, if you stay in the car for too long, there is also the added risk of other vehicles, colliding with you, and then you being in the car, it's not a good thing. Leave the car and go to a higher ground. You may get wet a little bit, but it's a safety. You're in a safer situation if you leave the car.
Moving on, following week-long raids on 42 massage parlors and 9 unlicensed entertainment outlets, the police are investigating 45 people for various offences like breaching COVID-19 rules and working without valid permits.
17 establishments are also believed to have flouted rules under various acts. These include 3 outlets operating without a valid license and another allegedly failing to ensure its customers wore masks during the massage.
Overseas, facing heavy criticism over the US's chaotic push to get Americans and Afghan allies out of Afghanistan, US President Joe Biden will speak about the evacuation effort later tonight. The US has struggled to quickly process visas for evacuees. You'd have seen viral images like this of Afghans clinging on to departing US military aircraft. According to officials, as of yesterday afternoon, the US military has evacuated 7,000 people since Saturday. Well, those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below.
Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Quay. Have a good weekend and we will see you next week.